Wall Street yuppies are buying Ferraris. Muscle cars are a shadow of their former selves. And Buick, yes, Buick, is quietly building a monster in the shadows. Out rolled the GNX, a sinister black coupe that could humiliate Corvettes, Porsches, even Ferraris at stoplights. But beneath that glossy paint and turbo hiss lurked a story far stranger than most gearheads realize. From FBI rumors to engineering hacks that GM tried to hide, the GNX became the ultimate forbidden fruit of the 80s. Today, we're counting down 20 weird, hidden, and downright shocking facts about the 1987 Buick GNX. And wait until you hear why number one almost never made it to production. The 1987 Buick GNX wasn't just another muscle car. It was a corporate accident, a loophole project, and a cultural lightning bolt that hit just once before vanishing. With only 547 built, it remains one of the most mythologized Buicks in history. Its story isn't just about horsepower, it's about corporate politics, forbidden speed, and a fan base that turned obsession into legend. Stick with me as we unravel it all. And hey, if rare American icons fascinate you, hit that like button and subscribe for more automotive deep dives. The GNX wasn't purely a Buick product. It was a collaboration with ASC/McLaren, the same engineering firm tied to exotic European racing. Buick handed over the already potent Grand National, and ASC turned it into a beast. They reworked the turbocharger, intercooler, and exhaust, sneaking in engineering that GM brass never would have approved in-house. Why? Because Buick wanted plausible deniability if things went wrong. The partnership was hush-hush, but insiders say ASC gave the GNX the kind of tuning that made it feel more like a European supercar assassin than a Midwestern coupe. Collectors know to look for the ASC/McLaren plaque under the hood, proof this wasn't just another Grand National. And if you think outsourcing was odd, number 19 shows how the price tag got even stranger. It cost more than a Corvette. Here's the kicker. In 1987, the GNX stickered at around $29,000, more than a brand new Corvette. Think about that. Buick, the doctor's car brand, was selling a turbocharged Regal coupe for more than Chevy's Halo sports car. Many dealers smelled blood and slapped on insane markups, with some GNXs listed north of $40,000. The irony? Buyers gladly paid it. They weren't just buying a Buick, they were buying bragging rights. Today, that original MSRP feels like a bargain, as pristine GNXs can hammer at auction for over $200,000. And if you think money was the only oddity, wait until you hear number 18's production numbers. Only 547 were built. Unlike muscle cars of the 60s that rolled off assembly lines by the tens of thousands, the GNX was strictly limited. Just 547 units, no more, no less. Why 547? Buick never explained. Some say it was tied to production scheduling at ASC. Others claim it was purely a marketing ploy. Keep it rare, keep it legendary. Whatever the reason, that scarcity turned the GNX into instant collector bait. Spotter's tip? Every GNX carried a numbered dash plaque, making fakes easy to expose if the plate doesn't match the paperwork. And speaking of numbers, number 17 proves the GNX wasn't just rare, it was deceptively quick. The 0 to 60 times were underrated. Officially, Buick claimed the GNX hit 60 miles per hour in about 4.7 seconds. Sounds fast, but here's the twist. Independent testers routinely clocked it quicker, sometimes dipping into the low 4-second range. Car and Driver famously wrote that the GNX could outrun a Ferrari Testarossa in the quarter mile. Buick intentionally sandbagged the numbers, allegedly to keep insurance companies and federal regulators off their back. After all, this was a Buick, not a Corvette. Or so the marketing line went. The truth? The GNX was the fastest American production car of 1987. And number 16 proves the car's radical performance wasn't just about horsepower. It had a unique rear suspension trick. The GNX featured a suspension setup unlike anything else Buick offered. ASC engineers added a torque arm rear suspension with a unique panhard bar, designed to control axle hop under hard launches. Translation? You could dump the throttle, and the GNX squatted down like a drag car, hooking up instead of spinning out. This setup gave it a huge edge in real-world stoplight races. Collectors know this as one of the easiest ways to spot a real GNX. The rear suspension arms and braces are unlike any Grand National clone. And if you thought suspension tweaks were cool, number 15 dives into the GNX's sinister looks. Every GNX was black, but not quite the same black. The GNX's identity is tied to its sinister all-black paint. Yet here's the twist. While Buick marketed it as black only, the exact paint finish could vary slightly. Some cars appeared glossier, others a shade duller, depending on how the lacquer cured at the Pontiac, Michigan plant, and the ASC modifications afterward. No chrome trim, no flashy colors, just Darth Vader menace on wheels. But under bright light, sharp-eyed spotters notice minute differences in tone across body panels. Rumor has it, ASC's final finishing process wasn't perfectly uniform, which today helps authenticate originals. So yes, they were all black, but no two looked exactly alike. And number 14 proves the details got even weirder inside the cabin. The dash had a secret plaque. Pop inside a GNX, and you'll notice something unusual on the passenger side. A numbered dash plaque identifying its production number out of 547. This wasn't some glued-on dealer trinket. It was an official part of the car's DNA. But here's the kicker. Some plaques were mounted slightly crooked, and others even came loose, sparking panic among early owners who thought they'd bought a fake. Today, an intact, correctly placed GNX plaque adds thousands in value, while missing plaques make collectors wary. It's like the VIN for the GNX faithful. And if you thought a crooked badge was odd, number 13 reveals how Buick's gauges played a trick on drivers. The speedometer lied. You'd expect the ultimate Buick muscle car to flaunt a 160 miles per hour speedometer. Instead, the GNX's speedo topped out at a laughable 85 miles per hour, thanks to federal regulations of the era. Drivers quickly discovered the GNX could nearly double that. Some claimed the needle would bury itself past the peg during high-speed runs. Enthusiasts joked that the GNX was the only car where the dashboard tried to keep the truth a secret. Spotters tip: aftermarket GNX clones often wear incorrect gauges, while a true survivor keeps that government-mandated 85 miles per hour face. And if that wasn't confusing enough, number 12 shows how even the turbo was full of secrets. The turbocharger was a Frankenstein mix. The GNX didn't just have a turbo, it had a turbo Frankenstein. ASC/McLaren used a Garrett T3 turbo housing, paired with a larger T4 compressor wheel. The result was a hybrid setup, capable of gulping more air and producing brutal low-end torque. But there's a twist. Buick kept the intercooler small to avoid warranty nightmares, meaning much of the GNX's magic came from McLaren's clever engineering balance, rather than raw boost pressure. To a layperson, it looked like a basic turbo Buick. To a mechanic, it was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And speaking of hidden tweaks, number 11 proves the GNX had tricks even GM didn't want you to know. Buick lied about the horsepower. Official brochures listed the GNX at 276 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque, respectable for 1987, but flat-out false. Independent dyno tests pegged real output closer to 300 horsepower and nearly 420 pound-feet. Why the lie? Corporate politics. Buick didn't want the GNX overshadowing the Corvette, GM's golden child. Underreporting numbers was the only way to get the project approved. Here's the kicker. That underrated torque made the GNX faster in the quarter mile than anything else GM sold. Collectors still smirk at the factory ratings, knowing full well the GNX was sandbagged to sneak past GM brass. And if you think lying on paper was bad, wait until number 10, when the GNX nearly disappeared before it even started. 10. The GNX almost didn't happen at all. Here's the part nobody talks about. The GNX nearly died before it lived. Buick had already planned to end the Grand National after 1987, and management wasn't eager to fund a pricey last hurrah. Enter ASC/McLaren, who pitched the GNX as a limited-run swan song, offloading much of the cost. Even then, GM brass hesitated. Why? Because it threatened to embarrass the Corvette. Rumor has it the Corvette team lobbied against the project, fearing a Buick coupe would steal headlines. Only after Buick positioned the GNX as a marketing halo car, a rare collectible to lure buyers into showrooms, did it squeak through. Collectors today still marvel that 547 examples slipped past GM's corporate politics, and number 9 shows how those survivors came out of the factory far from ordinary. They weren't built at Buick's plant. Unlike regular Regals and Grand Nationals, the GNX wasn't fully built on the standard GM assembly line. Instead, cars were shipped from Buick's Pontiac plant to ASC/McLaren's facility in Livonia, Michigan, for conversion. There, the real magic happened. Engine tweaks, suspension upgrades, body modifications, and cosmetic details. Think of it as a clandestine speed shop working with factory backing. This two-step process made production slower and more expensive, but also more precise. Spotter's tip? GNXS often showed 2 sets of build tags, one from Buick, another from ASC, making paperwork crucial for collectors. And speaking of paperwork, number 8 dives into a very odd warranty situation. The warranty was a headache. On paper, the GNX came with Buick's standard warranty, but here's the twist. If something failed with ASC/McLaren modifications, say the suspension tweaks or turbo hardware, dealers often didn't know who covered it. Owners bounced between Buick service departments and ASC reps, sometimes getting stuck with bills. Period reports suggest some dealerships flat out refused to touch GNXS, worried about liability. This confusion only added to the car's outlaw aura. Today, survivor cars with full warranty paperwork, service records, and original ASC documentation fetch premium dollars at auction. And if you thought warranties were tricky, number 7 reveals how the GNX even outsmarted police radar. Radar guns couldn't believe it. In the late 80s, radar guns weren't calibrated for cars that quick off the line. Police reportedly clocked GNXS pulling suspiciously fast times, sometimes doubting their own equipment. Stories spread of GNXS blowing past radar traps before the officer could even react. Whether urban legend or fact, one thing is clear. The GNX was faster than most law enforcement pursuit cars of its day. Spotter's tip? Some GNX clones try to play up this outlaw mystique, but only the real deal carries ASC suspension and turbo codes to back it up. And if that sounds wild, number 6 dives into the car's pop culture moment on the silver screen. The GNX became a Hollywood villain. Few Buicks ever made it to Hollywood fame, But the GNX did. Its most famous cameo, Fast and Furious, where Vin Diesel's character Dom uses a GNX in the opening heist sequence. Fans loved the irony, a car built in 1987 stealing the show in a 21st century action blockbuster. But that wasn't its only screen role. GNXS popped up in music videos and car magazines as symbols of menace and rebellion. On screen, the all-black Buick looked less like Grandma's Regal and more like a muscle-bound hitman in a tuxedo. This pop culture stamp cemented its legend with a new generation. And if Hollywood gave it star power, Proves Racing gave it credibility. It was banned from certain races. The GNX was so dominant that some grassroots drag strips and local competitions quietly banned it. Why? Because it embarrassed purpose-built muscle cars. With stock tires and air conditioning running, the GNX could cut quarter-mile times in the mid-13s, sometimes quicker with cool air and good prep. That was enough to upset the fairness balance in classes meant for showroom cars. Period racers recall GNX owners showing up, running 2 or 3 passes, and then being politely asked not to return. It wasn't that the GNX broke rules, it simply broke egos. And if race bans sound extreme, number 4 shows how the GNX also broke records in another arena. It beat the Corvette. Publicly. Here's the kicker. In head-to-head testing, the GNX often outran Chevy's Halo Corvette. Car and driver famously pitted them and crowned the Buick quicker in the quarter mile. Imagine the corporate nightmare, Buick's Grandma brand sedan, humiliating the Corvette, GM's pride and joy. Insiders say this is why Buick deliberately underreported horsepower, because embarrassing the Corvette too often was corporate suicide. Today, this fact is one of the GNX's greatest bragging rights. Spotter's tip: Period magazine clippings featuring those tests are treasured collector add-ons, boosting a car's documentation package. But as shocking as that was, number 3 proves Buick didn't just hide numbers, it hid parts. Hidden underbody heat shields. The GNX had something most owners never saw: unique underbody heat shields added by ASC. These kept turbo heat from roasting the floorboards and transmission tunnel. They weren't glamorous, but they were essential for keeping the GNX streetable. The twist? Some shields were riveted crudely, others fitted cleanly, depending on ASC workers that day. For collectors, original shields are rare, as many were removed during service or rusted away. Finding intact, factory-installed GNX heat shielding is now a small jackpot. And yet, as obscure as that sounds, number 2 takes us back to a far bigger mystery: the GNX's name itself. Nobody agrees what GNX stands for. Grand National Experimental, Grand National Extreme, Grand National 10, the Roman numeral X. Fans and even Buick insiders still debate what GNX really meant. Official Buick literature stuck with Grand National Experimental, but ASC staff reportedly called it Grand National X. Some period enthusiasts even spread the legend that X marked it as the final chapter of the Grand National saga. The truth? Likely a little of everything. Buick wanted mystery baked into the badge, making it sound more like a secret prototype than a showroom car. That ambiguity only added to its mystique. But no matter the name, number 1 explains why the GNX almost didn't survive its own creation. The GNX nearly got crushed in a corporate clampdown. Here's the big reveal. Late in 1987, GM executives debated whether to destroy unsold GNXS rather than let them tarnish Corvette's market position. Allegedly, some higher-ups were furious that Buick's Halo Coupe stole headlines from Chevy's sports car. According to insiders, a handful of GNXS sat in holding lots while executives wrangled over their fate. The threat was real. GM had previously crushed prototypes to avoid liability, but Buick dealers rebelled, arguing the GNX was already promised to buyers and would spark outrage if killed. In the end, all 547 cars survived, but the scare underscored how fragile the project really was. Today, knowing how close the GNX came to corporate extinction makes each survivor feel like a miracle. That's the heart of its legend. The 1987 Buick GNX wasn't just another muscle car. It was a loophole project, a Corvette assassin, and a shadowy collaboration that slipped through GM's corporate defenses. For a single model year, Buick built a car that defied its own brand identity and rewrote American performance history. And then, just as quickly, it vanished. No follow-up, no encore. That's why collectors treat the GNX as sacred ground. Every crooked dash plaque, every underbody heat shield, every black-on-black survivor carries whispers of the corporate gamble that nearly didn't happen. So, what do you think? Which of these 20 weird facts blew your mind the most? Or did we miss one of your favorite GNX legends? Drop a comment and join the debate. And if you love stories of forbidden performance, check out our deep dives on the Corvette L88 and the Pontiac GTO Judge. The GNX proved one thing. Sometimes the wildest car comes from the unlikeliest badge.